The arrival. The hum of machines filled the quiet chamber. A man lay still on a wide bed, wrapped in white sheets that did not belong to any hospital he knew. The air was clean, almost too clean, and it carried a faint metallic taste. His eyes blinked open slowly, heavy with exhaustion, and he found himself staring at a ceiling that curved in smooth circles, glowing with pale light. It was not Earth. It was not any place he remembered. His chest rose and fell with effort. Every breath felt strange, as though the air carried a thickness he had never inhaled before. He tried to sit up, but the weight of his body pressed him back down. His arms felt heavy, his muscles weak. The last thing he recalled was the chaos of battle. Fire in the sky, the sound of ships breaking apart, the crash of metal and screams in the comms. Then silence. Now, here! A soft hiss echoed through the chamber as the door slid open. He turned his head slowly. A figure entered, tall and slender, her movements smooth and precise. At first, he thought it was a woman, but then his eyes adjusted, and he saw she was not human at all. Her skin was green, not pale or tan, but rich emerald. Long dark hair, almost black with a blue shimmer, fell down her shoulders. Her ears rose to sharp points, more elegant than any human's. She wore a suit that clung to her body, silver and white, marked with lines that glowed faintly as if alive. The man's heart beat faster. He had heard stories about alien medics, about their strange ways of healing, but this was the first time he had ever seen one so close. The alien's large eyes blinked as they landed on him. For a moment, she stood frozen, as though surprised that he was awake. Then, with careful steps, she approached the bed. She carried a device in her hand. It looked like a tablet of glass, lit from within, filled with symbols that shifted and pulsed. She tapped it once, and a soft hum began. Her gaze shifted from the device to the man, studying him with a curiosity that made him uneasy. The human swallowed hard. His throat was dry, his voice weak, but he managed to whisper, "Where am I?" The alien did not answer immediately. Instead, she leaned close, her expression caught between caution and wonder. Her device beeped softly, showing streams of data he could not understand. Then, in careful words, she spoke. "You are alive, that is unexpected." Her voice carried a melody, soft but firm. The man frowned. "Unexpected? What did that mean?" The medic raised a hand, holding a thin wand that glowed faintly at the tip. She hovered it over his chest. A warmth spread through his skin, followed by a vibration deep inside. He winced, but she hushed him gently. The wand glided down his body, stopping at his heart. The device in her other hand beeped again, faster this time, as if alarmed. Her eyes widened. She glanced at him, then at the screen, then back at him again. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came. The man felt her hesitation, and it chilled him more than the cold air of the chamber. "What is it?" he asked, his voice firmer this time. The alien did not respond. Her jaw tightened as though she was struggling to process what she saw. She tapped her device again, scanning his blood, his pulse, the rhythm of his heart. Every result made her eyes grow wider. Her hands trembled slightly, though she tried to hide it. The human stared at her. He had seen fear before, on battlefields, in the eyes of soldiers. But this was different. This was the look of someone who had discovered something they were not prepared to face. Finally, she whispered, more to herself than to him. "This should not be possible." The man's pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" She ignored his question and leaned closer, her green face lit by the glow of the screen. The hum of the machines grew louder, almost as if the room itself shared her unease. She tapped a command and a projection appeared above the device, a hologram of his heart, glowing red, beating strongly. But as the medic adjusted the view, she gasped. The veins lit brighter than normal, pulsing with energy that should not exist in a human body. The human frowned. He could not understand the symbols, but he could see her shock clearly. She stepped back slightly, staring at him as if he were no longer a patient, but a mystery. "Tell me," he demanded, his voice breaking through the silence. "What do you see?" Her gaze lingered on him, her jaw stiff. She opened her mouth, then closed it, struggling to find the words. At last she muttered, "Your body, it fights in ways ours cannot. It repairs faster, stronger, different. It is not normal, not even for your kind." The man's eyes narrowed. A strange unease filled his chest. He had survived battles before, wounds that should have killed him. Perhaps this was why. Perhaps this was what kept him alive when others fell. But why did she look so afraid? The medic shut off the device, her expression hardening. She glanced toward the door, then back at him, as if deciding whether to keep the secret or share it with others. The silence between them stretched, heavy and sharp. The man lay back, his mind racing. He did not know where he was or why he had been saved, but one thing was clear. Something inside him had caught the alien's attention, something powerful enough to leave her stunned, and as her jaw tightened once more, as though hiding fear, he realized that his survival might not be a blessing at all. It might be the beginning of something far greater and far more dangerous. The examination. The chamber grew colder as silence stretched between them. The alien medic stood frozen, the glow of her device reflecting in her wide eyes. The human shifted slightly, his muscles aching, but his focus never left her face. He wanted answers. She wanted certainty. Neither had what the other needed. With a sharp motion, the medic turned and walked toward a cabinet on the far wall. Her boots made no sound against the polished floor. She opened a drawer and pulled out another tool, longer and more complex, its surface alive with moving symbols. Returning to his bedside, she raised the device over him. The human tensed, but she spoke softly, her voice meant to calm him. "I must look deeper." "Stay still." The wand in her hand began to hum. Thin threads of light fanned out and passed through his chest, his arms, his skull. A warmth spread through his body, not painful, but unsettling, as if unseen fingers were tracing every bone and vessel inside him. His jaw clenched as he endured the strange sensation. The alien's expression changed as new readings filled her screen. At first, her brow furrowed with confusion. Then her lips parted in disbelief. The light in the chamber seemed to dim, or perhaps it was only the shadow that grew across her face. His pulse echoed in his ears. "What now?" he asked, his voice sharp. She swallowed before answering. "Your blood. It does not behave as it should," he frowned. "What does that mean?" She hesitated. The lines on her screen pulsed brighter, showing shifting waves of energy running through his veins. She raised her eyes to him, her voice steady but heavy. "Your blood fights. It resists. It adapts. No other species has blood like this." The human tried to make sense of her words. He thought of the battlefield, of the wounds he had taken that should have ended him. He thought of the fire and the metal and the silence afterward. Perhaps this was why he was still alive. But why did she sound so uneasy? The medic lowered the device and studied him carefully. Her eyes were not just curious now. They were cautious, almost fearful. She reached out, gently touching his arm with her slender green fingers. The warmth of her skin surprised him. She pressed lightly against his pulse, watching her screen. The numbers climbed faster than expected. "You are stronger than you should be," she whispered. "Even broken, your body refuses to stay weak." The man gave a dry laugh. "That is what humans do. We survive," but she shook her head firmly. "No, this is more than survival." Her words left a weight in the room. The human stared at her, wondering if she saw something even he could not understand. She stepped back and pressed a hand to a panel on the wall. A new machine unfolded, smooth and white, shaped like a half circle. She gestured for him to remain still, then moved the machine over his body. Its lights flickered across his skin, scanning deeper than before. The hologram of his body appeared above them, glowing blue and red. His skeleton shimmered like glass. His organs pulsed with light. The medic adjusted the view, narrowing her eyes. As the scan focused on his heart, the hologram flared brighter. Veins lit up like rivers of fire, energy rushing through them. Her hand trembled slightly. "This should not exist," she muttered under her breath. The human raised an eyebrow. "I am right here." "I do exist," but she ignored him. Her gaze was fixed on the heart that glowed like a small star. She turned the hologram, searching for a flaw, a weakness, anything to explain what she saw. Instead, the evidence grew stronger. His cells were not just repairing damage, they were rebuilding, adapting, growing harder and faster than before. She shut down the scan abruptly, her face pale despite the green of her skin. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, in a low voice, she told him, "If the council learns of this, they will not see you as a patient. They will see you as a weapon." The word struck him like a blow, a weapon. He had been a soldier, yes, but a man, not a machine. Now she looked at him as though his very existence carried danger. The human clenched his fists under the sheets. "And you? What do you see?" Her eyes softened for a moment, though fear lingered. "I see something I cannot explain. Something that may change everything." The air thickened between them. The medic turned off the machines and dimmed the lights, as if trying to erase the evidence. She paced slowly around the chamber, her mind racing. The human watched her, his patience running thin. He needed answers, but he could see she was wrestling with her own fears. At last, she stopped and faced him. "You must rest. Your body is doing more than you know. If others find out before you are ready..." She let the warning hang in the air. The man lay back, his mind storming with questions. What had battle awakened inside him? Why did his blood carry this strange power? And why did this alien medic, who should have been calm and professional, look at him as though he was both a miracle and a curse? The chamber lights dimmed further, but sleep did not come easily. His heart still beat strong, too strong, and in the silence of the alien med bay, he felt as though something inside him was waiting to rise. And as the medic stood by the door, her eyes never leaving him, he realized she was not just guarding him. She was guarding everyone else from him. The discovery, the alien medic did not sleep that cycle. She remained in the chamber long after the human had closed his eyes. Her gaze stayed on the machines, the readings, the strange results that made no sense to her training. Every scan told the same story. His body was not just healing, it was changing. When the man awoke again, the glow of the chamber lights was softer, tinted with blue. He opened his eyes and found her still there, standing with her device in hand. She had not moved from her post. He could see the dark circles under her eyes, though her face still held that calm mask. "You are still here," he said, his voice rough. She looked at him, her lips pressed into a thin line. "I could not leave." He shifted, pushing himself up on the bed despite the heaviness in his limbs. "Then tell me, what is happening to me?" Her fingers tightened on the device. She seemed to weigh his question in silence before finally walking to his bedside. With a few taps, she brought up another projection, this time not of his heart, but of his entire body. It hovered above them, glowing faintly. "Your cells," she said slowly, "are not stable. They are moving, shifting, finding ways to fight even the smallest threat. When I first saw this, I thought it was error. But it is real. Your body is not only surviving, it is adapting faster than anything I have ever seen." The man frowned, staring at the ghostly outline of his body. The glow inside the hologram pulsed brighter near his chest and along his arms. "Adapting to what?" Her eyes narrowed. "To everything. Wounds, poison, pressure. Even the atmosphere here should not be easy for you to breathe. Yet your lungs have already adjusted. It is as though your body refuses to accept limits." The words sank into him slowly. He thought of Earth, of humanity's long struggle through hunger, storms, and war. Maybe this was what she was seeing, humanity's oldest strength. Yet the fear in her eyes told him there was more. The medic lowered her voice, almost a whisper. "It is not natural, not even for your kind. Something inside you is changing faster than time allows." He stared at her, his jaw tight. "So what do you think I am?" Her lips parted, then closed again. She looked away, unable to answer. The silence pressed heavy on both of them. Finally, she turned back to the machine, enlarging the image of his blood cells. They glowed brighter than any aliens. "These cells fight like soldiers," she said. "When one dies, another rises stronger. It is a cycle without end. If the council learns of this..." He finished her sentence, his voice steady. "They will fear me." She nodded once. The human let out a slow breath, leaning back against the bed. He was no stranger to fear. He had seen it in the eyes of enemies and allies alike. But being seen as something unnatural, something dangerous, was different. It was heavier. The medic's hand hovered near his arm again, as if she wanted to comfort him but dared not. "Do you feel it?" she asked. He looked at her, puzzled. "Feel what?" She tilted her head. "The change inside you." He closed his eyes, focusing on his body. At first, he felt only the dull ache of exhaustion. But then, deeper, he noticed something else, a thrum under his skin, a pulse of heat in his veins. It was faint but constant, like fire waiting to grow. He opened his eyes slowly. "Yes," he whispered. The medic stepped back as though his word alone confirmed her worst fear. She turned off the projection quickly, her hands trembling. "This is dangerous," she said. "Not just for you, for everyone." The human met her gaze, his expression hard. "Then tell me what I must do." But before she could answer, the door to the chamber hissed open. Two more alien medics entered, their suits glowing brighter, their devices larger. They paused when they saw him awake, their eyes flicking to the first medic as if asking silent questions. She moved quickly, hiding her device behind her back. "You were not supposed to begin scans without us," one of them said sharply in their own tongue. The human did not understand the words, but he understood the tone, distrust, suspicion. The first medic lifted her chin. "He survived," she answered firmly. "That is reason enough to study him." The others exchanged wary glances. One approached the bed, aiming his scanner at the human's chest. The man's heart raced as he felt the cold light pass through him again. The device beeped loudly. The alien's brows shot up. He muttered something quickly to his companion, their voices tight with alarm. The first medic stepped forward, blocking their view. "Enough! He needs rest, not your fear." The two medics glared at her, but they did not argue further. Instead, they left the chamber, their footsteps sharp with unease. The door sealed behind them, leaving silence once more. The human turned his eyes back to her. "They know," she nodded slowly. "Yes, and soon more will know." The weight of her words pressed down on him. His body was changing, becoming something unknown, and now others had seen the signs. Whatever came next, it would not stay secret for long. The medic's jaw tightened as she whispered, almost to herself, "I fear what will happen when the council learns the truth." And as the human lay in the cold light of the med bay, he realized that his survival had become more than a miracle. It had become a discovery that could shake the balance of the galaxy. The chamber no longer felt like a place of healing. It felt like a cage. The human lay on the bed staring at the curved ceiling, but his mind was not at rest. He could feel the shift in the air, the way the other medics had looked at him, the silence that followed them out the door. Fear was moving through the station, spreading like smoke. The alien medic who had stayed with him paced back and forth, her long dark hair swaying with every turn. Her glowing suit cast soft light across the walls, but her expression was shadowed. She paused often, glancing at the door as if expecting it to open at any moment. "They will not leave this alone," she said finally. Her voice was quiet, but it carried weight. "The others will report what they saw. Soon the council will send orders." The human sat up slowly, his body stronger now than when he first woke. He noticed it himself. The ache in his chest was fading, his breathing smoother, his muscles firmer. Every hour that passed made him feel less like a patient and more like a soldier again. He clenched his hands into fists, feeling the strength that should not have been there. "What will they do to me?" he asked. The medic's jaw tightened. She did not answer right away. Her silence was answer enough. Finally, she turned her gaze to him. "Some will want to study you. Others will want to hide you. And there are those who will see you only as a weapon to control or to destroy." The human's eyes hardened. He had fought battles against enemies who wanted to break him, but the idea of being seen not as a man, but as a tool, filled him with cold anger. "And you?" he asked. "What do you see?" She stopped pacing. For a moment her expression softened, her sharp features touched by a rare honesty. "I see something that frightens me, not because of what you are, but because of what others will do when they discover you." Before he could reply, a loud chime rang through the chamber. The door hissed open, and this time more than medics entered. 3 tall figures stepped inside, their suits heavier, their eyes sharp with authority. Soldiers. They carried no weapons in their hands, but the way they moved made it clear. They were ready for violence if needed. The human's body tensed. His instincts flared, the soldier in him alive again. The medic moved quickly to his side, raising a hand as if to shield him. "He is under my care," she said firmly. "You cannot take him." The lead soldier ignored her words and fixed his cold gaze on the human. "The council has been informed," he said in a low voice. "They demand to see him." The medic shook her head. "He is not ready. His body is still unstable." The soldier narrowed his eyes. "Or perhaps it is too dangerous." "We have orders." The human swung his legs off the bed, standing for the first time since he awoke in this place. His legs trembled for only a moment before strength surged through them. He stood tall, his eyes locked on the soldiers. He saw the flicker of unease in their stares. They had expected weakness. Instead, they found defiance. "I will walk," the human said, his voice steady. The medic's hand caught his arm. Her green fingers tightened, and for the first time he felt desperation in her touch. "Do not trust them," she whispered. "They fear what they do not understand, and fear drives them to act without reason." The soldier stepped closer. The lead one gestured sharply toward the door. "Now!" The human met the medic's eyes. "Then come with me," he said. For a heartbeat, she hesitated. She had sworn to heal, not to follow soldiers into conflict. But something in his gaze, something in the way his presence filled the room, made her nod. "I will." Together they stepped forward. The soldiers surrounded them, guiding them out of the chamber and into a wide corridor. The walls glowed with soft light, lined with windows that looked out into endless space. Ships drifted in the distance, their silhouettes sharp against the stars. The human walked with slow, deliberate steps, every breath steady. But inside, his heart pounded. He could feel it again, that heat in his veins, that quiet thrum of change under his skin. It grew stronger with every step. The medic walked beside him, close enough that he could hear the quick rhythm of her breath. She kept glancing at him, her worry clear. At last she leaned closer and whispered, "Do you feel it?" "Yes," he answered quietly. "It is growing." They reached a set of tall doors at the end of the corridor. The soldiers stopped, their hands hovering near their belts where weapons could be drawn in an instant. The lead soldier pressed a panel and the doors slid open with a deep rumble. Beyond the threshold lay a vast chamber, far larger than the med bay. A ring of alien figures sat high above, their forms hidden in shadows, but their eyes glowing faintly. The council. Their voices murmured together, a low sound that filled the air with tension. The human and the medic were led to the center of the chamber. The light focused on them, harsh and unyielding. The council fell silent. The lead soldier stepped back, bowing his head to the figures above. "The human is here," he announced. The medic stood stiff beside him, her jaw set, her eyes locked on the shadows above. The human raised his chin, refusing to look small. He could feel the heat in his body rising, the strange energy spreading. The council's silence pressed heavy on him, heavier than any weapon. And as their eyes studied him, cold and calculating, he realized the truth. The medic had been right. To them, he was not a patient, not a survivor, not even a soldier. He was something to fear. The revelation. The chamber was silent, yet the silence was not empty. It was heavy, pressing down on every breath, every heartbeat. The human stood tall at the center of the circle, the alien medic close by his side. Above them, the council sat like shadows carved from stone, their glowing eyes fixed upon him. For a long time, none spoke. The human felt the weight of their stares, like knives searching for weakness. His veins burned with that strange heat, the thrum of power echoing deeper than any wound he had ever known. He clenched his fists at his sides, steadying himself. At last, one of the counselors leaned forward. Its voice was low, sharp, and echoed through the chamber. "Human, you should not be alive. And yet you stand before us. Explain." The man drew a slow breath. His throat was dry, but his voice carried strength. "I survive because that is what humans do. We are not perfect. We are not the strongest or the fastest. But we endure. We adapt. We do not fall." The counselor's eyes narrowed. "Adaptation. That is what your body shows us. A dangerous level of adaptation. Faster than any species we have recorded. It is unnatural." The medic stepped forward quickly, her voice ringing out. "Unnatural or misunderstood. You call him a danger because he does not fit your measures. But perhaps it is your understanding that is small." Her words sent murmurs through the circle. The glowing eyes turned on her, sharp with disapproval. But she did not flinch. She placed her hand on the human's arm, grounding him, showing them that he was more than a specimen. Another counselor spoke, its tone colder than ice. "You believe this is nature? I see a weapon, something that, if allowed to grow unchecked, could burn through worlds." The human's jaw tightened. He stepped forward, ignoring the soldier's warning glances. His voice was steady, iron in its simplicity. "You fear me, but what you fear is not what I am. It is what I could become. That choice is mine, not yours." The chamber erupted with low voices, overlapping, tense. Words he did not understand, but the tone was clear. Fear, doubt, anger. The medic's hand trembled slightly, though she did not let go of him. Then the lead counselor raised a hand, and the voices fell silent. Its gaze pierced into the human as though seeing not only his body but the fire inside him. "If what we see is true, then humanity itself carries this seed. And if so, then humanity may one day rise above us all." The words struck like thunder. The medic's breath caught. The soldier shifted uneasily. The human stood firm, his heart pounding, but his face calm. "Yes," he said, "that is the truth you have been trying not to face. You call me a weapon, but I am only a mirror. What you see in me is what you fear in all of my kind. We are not fragile. We are not weak. We are more than you believed." The medic turned her face to him, awe widening her eyes. It was the first time she saw him not as a patient, not even as a survivor, but as something larger, an emblem of what humanity truly was. The council's silence stretched again, but this time it felt different. Not the silence of judgment, but the silence of realization. They did not speak because they did not know how to deny what was in front of them. The lead counselor's voice broke the quiet. "If this is true, then the galaxy must be warned. Or perhaps prepared." The medic stepped forward again, her voice fierce. "Prepared, yes, but not with chains, not with fear. He is proof that humanity can survive anything. You may try to control it, but you cannot stop it." Her defiance hung in the air like fire. The human raised his head higher. "You will decide whether to see me as danger or as proof of life's strength. But know this, whatever your choice, humans will endure. We always have. We always will." The glow in his eyes caught the chamber light, a faint shimmer that none could ignore. Even the counselors leaned back slightly, as though the truth in his words pressed against them. For a moment, the chamber was filled with something stronger than fear. It was possibility. The lead soldier behind him shifted uneasily, gripping his weapon, though it stayed in its holster. The medic stepped closer, her voice now calm but certain. "The galaxy has witnessed many empires. They rise, they fall, they leave ruins behind. But perhaps now it must face something new. Not an empire, not a weapon. A species that cannot be broken." The human said nothing more. He let the silence speak for him. The council's eyes remained on him, glowing faint in the dark, their whispers carrying through the air. But in their faces he saw what mattered most. Their fear was no longer only of him. It was of what humanity could become. And for the first time since he opened his eyes in that alien med bay, he did not feel like a patient. He felt like a beginning.